Good afternoon and good morning. This is Mark Johnson from Loyalty 360. Welcome you to our ongoing Thought Leadership and Loyalty series. Today we have Peter Vogel from Plink. How are you today, Peter?
Very good. Thank you, Mark.
What is the state of marketing today? What are you seeing that is interesting for brands and suppliers alike?
So, one of the things that we're seeing pretty consistently is this opportunity for an omni-channel approach. So, we're seeing both this utilized by consumers and both demanded, so that consumers are wanting to interact with brands online, on phone, in store. And they're wanting to be able to do all aspects of the purchase, whether it's researching, purchasing, getting customer service, picking up, returning, upgrading. And that's one of the things we've seen with the kind of increased access to technology now is that omni-channel approach is becoming much more pervasive.
As a quick follow-up to that question, if you don't mind, the ability to really implement an omni-channel approach from a brand perspective is very challenging, both from
Right.
a perspective of having the staff, having the resources, and being able to keep up with technology. How do you simplify that approach for brands to make it easy and effective for them to implement an omni-channel approach?
Well, we always say that the most important thing in the omni-channel approach is consistency. You want across all mediums, whether it's actual, and when I say phone, I mean actual purchasing on mobile or actually just calling in and getting customer service, asking questions. You want to have the same look and feel, whether it's in your store, on your website, purchasing on mobile, on social media. You want to make sure you have the same pricing. You want to make sure you have the same promotions. You want to make sure your customer service people and all different channels are trained the same. And we also believe that the rewards and loyalty component is very important. You want to make sure that whatever reward system you have in place can interact consistently across all of those different channels. So that people don't feel there's any sort of disjointed experience. I think that's the biggest issue that brands can have is not having that consistency across all formats.
Interesting. This kind of begs the next question. We continue to hear from brands about the challenges they have of keeping up with the rapid pace of change in this new marketing paradigm. Any suggestions for brands who may be struggling with keeping up?
Well, as a new startup at Plink, we're always telling brands they should be open to new ideas, even more open to testing than they are, even allocating a little bit more of their budget to newer programs. And one of the things we always tell brands too is to be as honest as possible with vendors and suppliers, because a lot of the brands we talk with. They won't always tell you up front, but one of the biggest challenges, they don't even care about the cost of the program. They just don't have the time resources to deal with it. So the more honest a brand can be and let you know what their biggest constraints are, there's a lot of startups, I know we do this, and a lot of others I talk to, we're willing to almost do anything possible to keep the brand from having to do any work at all, just so that we can show them some data, some results. And a lot of other startups I talk to are the same way, that if you're honest with the vendors and suppliers and let them know what you really need, most likely they can give it to you.
Absolutely. We also continue to hear about the challenges and overuse of big data. Big data is obviously very important, but I think kind of the positioning of it has almost become trite. How do brands effectively engage individuals in this diverse and data intensive ecosphere if they really don't understand big data?
Right. It can definitely be challenging. And, we do use data a lot at Plink because we have access to a lot of our members' credit card transactions. And so we're always trying to target our members and present them with offers that they'll actually be interested in. One of the ways we look at it, and we tell our brands the same thing, is to look at big data in much smaller chunks. So for us, we look at a member and we can see literally thousands and thousands of credit card transactions across a year. We can see geographical information. We can see information from Facebook's social graph. But it's much easier to look at if you pick one small piece of data. For example, for one of our fast food, a national burger chain, they wanted specifically to target people who are heavy users of one of their competitors. So we look and we can see that our members, say, who go to one of their competitors 3 or more times a month, we are able to isolate, identify them, and then send them out a targeted message. So you're taking this huge amount of data, but just funneling it down till you get to little chunks that are usable and actually actionable.
Excellent. What's the biggest opportunity for marketers in the next 3 to 5 years?
Um, it's a good question. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, the biggest change that we're going to see is the emergence of the mobile wallet. And I think the biggest challenge is going to be for brands to figure out how to interact with that. I would say it's both the biggest opportunity and the biggest challenge. It's going to be an additional connection point with brands, with consumers. Brands are going to have access to potentially many more of a consumer's transactions. If everything is tracked through one device, the mobile phone, it's going to be much easier to track that consumer, to reward that consumer. But at the same time, the consumer is going to expect a lot more. They're going to expect a much higher level of personalization, a much higher level of rewards. They're going to expect to get every time they use that phone, they're going to expect to get rewarded somehow. So we think the opportunity is there, but it's also going to be a big challenge for brands to figure out how to implement that with their existing POS systems, with their existing loyalty systems, who to partner with. There's so many up and coming companies out there. It's hard to figure out what horse to bet on.
Excellent. Peter, thank you very much for taking the time to meet with us today, and we look forward to hearing from you additionally in 2013.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it, and hope to see you at one of the shows coming up soon.
Thanks.